we need to talk about made-up conditions. There are certain disorders that are actually made up. Um, Asperger's is made up. Okay. When you investigate the English language as an example, it's an example of a language that doesn't make any sense in its spoken or its written format. And so to try and claim that someone is um, struggling with that with language on the as one of that so-called disorder symptoms is obviously a lie of some kind. Um, the other thing too is that the another symptom that they associate with Asperger's is struggle in perceiving intentions. People struggle to know what their own intentions are. So how would they understand what someone else is? That's normal people. Those that like to pretend they know what their intentions are can easily be commandeered through mere argument and logic and observation why they're not telling the truth and why they might have a deeper motivation. So you might say, well, just take people at their word, but people's word is not law because the word is a lie. Okay, so what's the truth then? Well, the truth is that there isn't anyone that knows what the truth is. There has never been anyone, living or dead, who has ever known what the truth is. The 2022 finding that space-time is not a necessary construct or projection for the purposes of comprehending certain ideas in theoretical physics or whatever um, is just that, an example of that, showing that their word is a lie. And because mathematics is word done abstractly through calculations, then basically you can say that mathematics is a lie. So when is the word the truth? Oh, the word must be the truth when it's the Bible then, but that's also a lie. So how do you discern fact from fiction? Well, you make observation, don't you? But observations can be manipulated through illusions and distortions. And your perceptual capabilities or your senses are limited anyway. Also, there's issues with the technology. The technology was invented by people with flawed perceptual capabilities, so they're not necessarily seeing the truth either, or showing it, or whatever. So if you think your version of events is truer than someone else's, then you're delusional. If you think you have the truth, then you're delusional. If you think that any particular worldview is the truth, then you're delusional. If you believe anything at all, you're delusional. Belief is delusional. Attitudes and beliefs are all delusional, every last one of them. Worldviews in general are delusional. All worldviews are delusional. All of them. If you try to argue that Asperger's is an illness in the context of a language that was deliberately, according to the evidence available, recrafted during the corporatization and imperial colonial phase that they keep talking about, to be subject object confusing among other things, and and to say that people who can observe that language is erroneous are somehow developmentally deficient, then it sounds like you're picking on people who are criticizing you or could be criticizing you for making mere observations. That sounds like Darvo, doesn't it? Okay, of course it's more than that. It's overwhelm to sensory stimuli, causing people to not necessarily engage in the same amount of eye contact as other people. So if you came from a culture where not looking at people was considered respectful, and you were in a very noisy environment at the time, could you be misdiagnosed with Asperger's? Interesting. They like to have special projects, so they get stuck on ideas. Oh. Does Neil deGrasse Tyson have Asperger's? He seems pretty normal. He seems to have good social skills. Oh, Asperger's is a social disability, is it? Oh. How come some are comedians and public speakers? Oh, hang on. You know what it really is? You know what really it is? They're just the people that you decided was your punching bag for disagreeing with you. They're just the people that you all decided to pull your crap on. They don't have self-other confusion because they knew who their self was before someone interfered with them. They understand the difference between pronouns. But then again, the pronouns were deliberately recrafted into modern English to be confusing, like you being an object pronoun originally being interchangeable with subject. That creates linguistic confusion for all speakers and listeners. And they're just not paying attention. So are you talking about people who pay too much attention? Are you talking about a Sheldon Cooper stereotype? Well, he doesn't pay much attention at all. He's a fucking stereotype from a TV show, so he doesn't make any sense either. So what are you talking about, though? Oh, they take language literally. No, they don't. No, they don't. They can have that without being literate. They could have dyslexia as well. Taking things literally refers to literacy. Take it literally. Take it as it's written, not as it's spoken, as it's written. So do you mean verbatim as it's spoken? Well, actually, verbatim refers to how it's done, because verb refers to doing. So that doesn't make any sense either. Okay. Okay. So they take you at your word then, do they? So they assume that you say what you mean then. So they're struggling to deal with your dishonesty, is it? They have trouble discerning dishonesty. Okay, well, that's the point of deception. To be the deceiver was a successful deceiver. Okay, then. Oh, but that's because they struggle with implied reasoning. But that's the point of it being implied, to deceive you. Maybe you should stop diagnosing people with Asperger's and start diagnosing people with dishonesty. And maybe just diagnose everyone else and see what happens then. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? What about dyslexia? Dyslexia is a fake illness. Dyslexia is an excuse to think you know better than someone else because you actually know how the language sounds without having your judgment impaired by looking at the written word, which, by the way, is completely different from how it sounds. It really is. Look at the word Mulloon Institute. Mulloon Institute does not sound like Mulloon Institute. Oh wait, it's made up of that though, syllabaically. What's a mulloon? We went through that in a different video. It's chopped up weed mixed with tobacco and a deranged lunatic. A lunatic, a deranged person. Someone who's mentally deficient. Okay then. Is a mentally deficient person someone who disagrees with you? Yes. Is a mentally deficient person someone who disagrees with you because they're factually in error? Also yes. Despite all of that, there is such a thing as fact and not fact. Have you ever tried to drop a pen to the ground and it suddenly flew in the sky? Well, you must have been on the International Space Station then. Huzzah! You're like one of very few people that can say that. It is true. When you drop things, they fall to the ground. Oh, wait, so does gravity actually exist then? No. Gravity is a mathematical construct that describes a relationship between variables, namely pens falling to the ground, and if there's any similarity between that and planets rotating around the suns. Oh, wait, there is a mathematical relationship between the two. But wait a minute, mathematics is language, not lies. Hang on a minute. Oh wait, space point at the time is not a necessary construct to describe the relationship between variables. Well, then how do you describe it? With words. And what are words? Sounds. What are sounds? Just an attempted mimicry of the oscillation of air particles that you witnessed somebody else doing in the past. Well, that's what they say. Is that actually true? What if that's not what sound is? Sound could be completely different. Does sound exist in a vacuum? They've never actually been able to produce a vacuum yet. Why? Well, they put something in the bloody thing to test it, to see if it would do something when it was in a vacuum. It stopped being a vacuum the moment they did that. Oh, right. So is a vacuum and a void the same thing? Not really. Huh. Well, that's not making any sense. So neither of them are null. Or one of them's null and the other one isn't. And, they're nothing. Hang on. So can infinity even equal zero if neither infinity nor zero exist? Well, they do exist. Yeah. As imaginal constructs. Who imagines the imaginal construct? Anyone who chooses to? What's choice? When the correct spirits are in the correct address in the correct state, not being interfered with by anything else, a state of total free will. And what's free will? Being able to choose your attitudes and beliefs or the decisions that you make. Okay, but can you do that if attitudes and beliefs are culturally transmitted? You can make observations about them, possibly, or analyze them. And under what context can you do that? Your existing language and social cultural information. Your language might limit you. So, if you became multilingual or multicultural, would you then expand your worldview? Potentially. But would you see through the other cultures through the lens of your previous language? There are scientific research to support that argument in linguistics. So, you wouldn't actually learn the second language at all. You would learn how to do basic functioning in that language, but your actual perception of it will be through the previous one. Yeah. So you'd be using cultural myopia or having a significant cultural bias when you do. Yeah. In other words, you'd be a bigot. Yeah. Oh, okay then. So so the attempt to overcome bigotry creates a different type of bigotry or prejudice, does it? Yeah. You know. So is prejudice unavoidable? Yeah. So how do you get a view from nowhere and actually genuinely comprehend things? You go into a void state or sunyata. What does that do? Makes the multiverse attack you? Oh. Oh. Okay then. And why is that? Because the alien orb guys, like the Likeness of a Man guys and the stupid Blue Crystal Grid cult, and those assholes decided that infinity was zero. And where'd they get that idea from? Michio Kaku? And where did Michio Kaku get that idea from? He was doing, describing the mathematical languages as wait, he got it from maths. So maths is the problem, is it? Mathematics is actually a problem, not a solution. That's really interesting. Is it possible to do philosophy without mathematics? Yeah. Is it possible to do symbolism without geometry? Yeah. And is it possible to acknowledge that mathematics is symbolism and so is geometry, and symbolism isn't necessarily what reality is? Yes. Okay then. So what's the fundamental bias that's affecting everyone? Vantage point. But didn't people go into the wrong vantage point? Yeah. Did they lose their fundamental biases? Um, some of them have like drastically like changed some of their opinions since they got it. Like it's um, kind of weird. Okay. Are they energetically changed? Yeah. Is that because opinions cause them to change? Not always. Did they feel a force acting upon them? Yeah. Was the force symbolic or different spiritual type of energy? Both. It depended on the situation. Either way, it was came from projections. Is that correct? Yeah. Was it projected by its physical body or a different source? A different source. Okay. And was the different source technological or other people or some other source? All of the above. Depend on which situation. Okay then. So the fundamental issue here isn't is not whether or not uh, beings are capable of perceiving reality correctly, because they obviously can't. It's a lack of respect, is it? Yeah. In your opinion, based on your experiences, do aliens from outer space respect people? No. And in your opinion, do scientists or physicists who may be associated with Tech Bro and the AI transhuman agenda respect people? No. In your opinion, does Christianity respect people? No. In your opinion, does Judaism respect people? No. In your opinion, does Masonry respect people? No. In your opinion, does the left wing or the right wing respect people? No. In your opinion, does chaos magic respect people? No. In your opinion, does philosophy respect people? No. In your opinion, does mathematics or geometry respect people? No. Which worldview that's been encountered so far respects people or is honest? Um, um, we haven't encountered one yet. So you mean to say it's possible that there are beings who've been literally exposed to a plethora of multiverses, or came from that plethora of multiverses and may have been exposed to some of that information, and in the entirety of the multiverse, there has not ever been experienced a single worldview that tells the truth or respects others, or where they feel respected. That's correct. So in other words, truth and honesty, truth doesn't exist, and neither does respect. Truth and respect don't exist anywhere in the multiverse. Has there been attempts made? Yeah, there's been attempts made. And all of them failed. Correct. And that's regardless of type and effort. Yes. So honesty and respect don't exist anywhere. Correct. And is it a cultural thing? Is a specific culture worse than others? All cultures have been observed, and none of them have that. They all have the attempt, but all of them have failed. Like every last one of them. Each one is stuffed up one way or another. Each one has had a worldview myopia of some kind or another, a prejudice of some kind, an error of some kind. Right. So you don't find the path of truth and respect, or honesty and respect through culture, do you? Apparently not. And you don't find it through spiritual activity involving the multiverse, do you? No, you do not. So where do you find truth and respect? It's never been found. Okay then. Don't worry about it then. Reality's not worth saving.